College drinking buddy and Ole Miss head coach Lane Kiffin chiming in over the weekend. It was Father's Day a year ago when Lane Kiffin, who can barely control himself on Twitter, said that Happy Father's Day to Nick Saban from Kirby Smart. This Father's Day, he says, "Hey, sorry, Alabama football. I guess I gave Kirby Smart some motivation last Father's Day." Oh, Lane. I really seriously, I wonder what it's like to have to deal with this guy constantly chirping. But I bet Kirby's just as bad back. It's just not public. Couple things here. First of all, if Lane Kiffin is ever available to be the offense coordinator and Kirby should do all he can to get him. I mean, Lane Kiffin has become an amazing play. Well, he's been one for a while, an amazing play caller, and is one of the best offensive minds in college football, no doubt. He also likes to consistently rib people, and that's what it is. I mean, these idiots at Tennessee don't seem to understand not to mess with the guy because all it's going to be is him messing back. And you know he tends he tends to bring out the worst in people sometimes, and he enjoys that. Now, there's a couple different ways to deal with people like that. Number one, you just kind of ignore them, which seems to be Kirby's plan. Or B, you know, you mess with them back, but Tennessee is not in position to do that. I mean, everywhere we've seen so far this season, and Tennessee's really wanted something, whether it was that win over Lane in Neyland Stadium, or that didn't work out. That worked out horribly, actually. Not only did Ole Miss win, but Tennessee threw stuff all over the field. That was embarrassing for the league. And then secondly, you got the Tennessee um, baseball team talking all sorts of noise, and Tennessee fans are engaging with Lane Kiffin, and Ole Miss is on their way to playing in the College World Series, and Tennessee is falling flat on their face. There's no point in messing around with Lane because he loves this stuff. He wants to get thrown in the briar patch. He loves it. This is his home. But uh, I don't think Georgia or Kirby needed any motivation or some motivation, as Lane put it, um, to win the national championship. I mean, it was time. I don't know how many times I said it was time. You don't get it was this is I don't know if this is relief. He only really in the I don't know 30 minutes after the game, I never really saw Kirby necessarily uh, celebrate in a way where it felt like he was like losing control. This was really the only moment where he seemed to just let it all out at once. Everything else, he was congratulating people that had helped him get where he had to go. And that was a game. That national championship game. We also have some pictures of the parade in here too, by the way. Um, that game was a close game that probably shouldn't have been real close, honestly. I mean, when you think about how bad Georgia played in the first quarter, in really the second quarter as well, but definitely the first quarter. One thing Kirby said, we have to settle down. We were shooting ourselves in the foot. You are not a good football team when you're doing that. We have to get some things together on offense. And they finally did. Their defense gave them enough time to become the offense that they were most of the season. Obviously, the Nakobe Dean touchdown that was taken away was just a missed call, and that would have really mattered in this game late. I mean, that game, it was a 33-18 win. That game honestly should have been 40-18. I mean, Georgia was clearly the better team. And one thing that we talk about in the book is the lead up to the game and how important it is. Hey, look, we're giving away the when you get the book, which I'm waiting on some of them to come to my house right now, so I can send them out to y'all. Uh, when you get the book now, you get the magazine for free. So make sure you're getting DAWGSTRUCTION today. The magazine's also available. I'm linking it down below. It is 50 pages of just Georgia. Okay, just the Dogs. There's not, you know, there's nothing about Oregon State. It's interviews with Kendall Milton, Stetson Bennett, A.D. Mitchell. We got something on Eric Gilbert, the passing explosion, Stetson's last season at Georgia. Um, you're not going to want to miss out on all that. But when you think back to the national championship game and the moments, Georgia opened that game as a 1-point favorite. I don't know if everybody remembers that. And people were freaking out. They didn't understand it. Excuse me. They came into the weekend before the semifinal games as a 1-point favorite. After the semifinal games, Georgia was a 3-point favorite. And people just didn't understand it. But the truth was, and maybe Lane picking on, well, first of all, Lane picks on everybody, right? This is just what he does. But maybe he's just giving, Kirby props, bringing it up again, rubbing salt in Nick's wounds, just doing what he does. Lately Lane has messed with Jimbo, Kirby, Saban. I do think, as good a coach as Kirby has been, it's time to kind of figure out how to roll it all together and get to Atlanta. Mississippi is the only school besides Texas A&M who just got in the league. Mississippi is the only school from the West that has not played for the Southeastern Conference Championship, and it's almost 30-year championship game, and it's 30 years of existence. So I think it's time for the Rebels to kind of get going. The other curious thing here too in the near future is, for Lane, he'll be dealing with playing Georgia more often, clearly, because of what's going on in the SEC. But when you look back at Georgia's win over Alabama, no, there was no extra motivation. I mean, nobody was thinking about Lane Kiffin, but this is what he does. Sometimes it's pretty funny. I mean, last year I thought that was kind of funny. This year it's more of a look at me thing. I mean, we're going to do this forever. I mean, Nick Saban's your dad too. Oh, yeah, or you're just straight up his bitch, one of the two, because you ain't ever beat him. And I don't know if Ole Miss will, but that Tennessee team in '09 played Alabama really tight, 9-6 or something. What, I don't know what the score was. It was close. But all of Lane's other teams have just not had much in the way of success against, Alabama. Not that a bunch of people have, but uh, Kirby, I think, is trying to take hold of this, this conference. Can he grab a hold of the reins in this league and become what Nick has been successfully? I mean, I don't know. I'm skeptical. I said 10-9. It was 10-12, and what I remember about that game is the Vols were lining up to kick the game winner up at Bryant Denny, and it got blocked by Terrence Cody, if I'm not mistaken. But in 2000, I mean, Ole Miss got blown out, I think, by Alabama. Isn't that right? Why is this so hard? Yeah, they lost 63 to 48, and then a season later, they got beat 42 to 21. So not super competitive. And some of this is displaced aggression towards Nick, but a lot of it is just, hey, look at me, transfer king or whatever he's calling himself. I think it's kind of funny myself. But I do know this: the guy can really call plays, period, and he would be lethal with an actual defense. That's what they had with him and Kirby at Alabama in what, 14, 15, 16? I can't remember, but it was definitely the 15 season. And then, of course, he moved on to Florida Atlantic and then eventually Ole Miss. Georgia doesn't need any motivation. They are in a fight of their life to try to win another national championship while Kirby's the head man. I think they will. They may or may not have to beat Alabama in that game, but they're going to have to beat Alabama along the way. These two teams are too good. The league has, for now, sort of vacuumed around the two of them, And the way they're recruiting, it's going to be Georgia and Alabama, at least for the near future. We can't know what the future brings with Bama and Georgia when Texas and A&M and excuse me, Texas and Oklahoma all come into the league. But it'll just be more fodder for Lane, and another happy Father's Day out to him.